Melloni here with Renaissance Firearms Instruction. So there's been a lot of shootings recently in the news, and every time one of these mass shooting atrocities occurs, the gun control debate fires right up. I promise you this video is not going to be a gun control rant, pros and cons or any of that. Like everything else, our job is to educate. So I brought a few firearms out. I'd like to do a very close-up in-depth review or view of how they actually work mechanically. You see, one of the biggest problems with the debate is we all want to jump into it, but there's so much misinformation out there that I ask you, whichever side of the debate you're on, especially if you're on the anti-gun side of the debate, please watch this video. You know, knowledge is power, and you're going to have a really good working idea of what these firearms are, and more importantly to me, what they aren't. So let's go ahead and begin. The first firearm I have up here is a Beretta 92F pistol. Yes, F, it's a very old one. It's before the 92FS existed. So it's one of the originals, near and dear to me. One of the most common pistols in the world. And most people will look at a handgun and not really look at this and call it any of the new catchphrases that are out, like weapon of war or assault this or assault that. Most people are perfectly okay with a standard pistol, people owning standard pistols, right? So I like to show you how this gun works. It's very important because it's going to preface something very important to all gun owners in a moment. So a standard pistol, let's assume it starts unloaded with the action open. We insert a magazine full of ammunition. We close the action, and now the pistol will fire. Let's get nice and close here. Cycle around, and as long as I let the trigger forward, I can fire again and again until the magazine is empty. Now, most pistols come with a capacity magazine upwards of 10. This pistol actually has magazines on the market of up to 30 for a standard handgun. Very popular out there. You know, go ahead and fact check me, get me in the comments. There may even be a 100-round drum available for it. Anyways, when the gun is fired or finished its last round, it locks open on the last round. I go ahead, I remove my magazine. It usually drops free. Place a fresh magazine in, again close the action. And now the gun will fire as fast as I squeeze the trigger. And that's the way nearly every semi-automatic pistol on the market works. The most common design out there. So let's go ahead and make sure this gun is empty, place it down, and pick up some or one of the two guns that has been in the news lately, right? We always see this gun brought up when there's an atrocity. This one and the next one that I show, which actually has resurfaced for the first time in a long time. This is, of course, the AR-15 in one of its many, many configurations. Let's just jump right into how it works. You'll notice the action on this gun is open, just like on the handgun was. I'm gonna go ahead and place a magazine into it, full of ammunition, close the action, and now the gun is ready to fire. And just like my handgun, I hold the trigger back, it will not continue to fire, right? It needs to come back to that same reset position, just like my handgun did. You hear that click? And now it's ready to fire again. Even if I hold the trigger down, it will not continue to fire. Very important to understand when we're dealing with AR-15s. Okay, on the last round, the action locks open. Again, we remove the magazine, usually drops free, place a fresh magazine in, close the action, and we can shoot again as fast as we can squeeze the trigger. You'll notice they have the exact same rate of fire, meaning this AR-15 and a standard classic handgun have the exact same rate of fire, right? So it's really not fair to call one a weapon of war. They both work the same way, they both operate the same way, they both have the same rate of fire. So another gun that I'd like to talk about, and this is actually very recent, we haven't seen these in the news in a long time for in criminal hands. Perfectly legal. Most people are going to call this an AK-47. Interesting thing about this design, it is the most popular rifle in the world, okay? Side note on the AR, I'm going to get back to that. That is the most popular rifle in the country. So they're both very popular one way or another. So this is actually an AKM, even though it's referred to as an AK-47. The difference is pretty much like the AR-15 and the M16. The AKM does not have any type of full automatic capability. The way an AK works, or an AKM works, is we put that magazine in again, a little slower to load. One of the reasons they're less popular, you actually have to rock it in. We have to actually give it a full cycle of the action. And just like the other guns that we fired today out here on the range, if I hold the trigger back, it will not continue to fire. I need to come to that reset point before I can fire again. The AK does not lock open on the last round. So when you have to reload the AK, whether it's the true AK-47, the original, or the AKM, the civilian version that you're going to find in America, you actually have to put a new mag in, and then you actually have to rack the action all the way back before you can fire it again. And again, it will fire as fast as you can squeeze the trigger, just like our handgun, just like the AR-15. So let's go ahead and put this down. The problem with banning something like this is it's a very common rifle. You're going to find these in the average collector's or the average enthusiast safe. They're used for self-defense, they're used for hunting, they're used for competitive shooting of all types. So the problem with gun owners when they enter the conversation of ban the AR-15 and similar firearms, as you can see, they're the most common actions in existence. So to us, it's almost like saying, I want to ban a vehicle, or back when vehicles were being used last year or a year before for mass murder, people were driving up on the sidewalks renting box trucks. It's almost as if they said, I don't want to ban all vehicles, I just want to ban the four-door sedan. The problem is that that encompasses so many firearms, it's hard to look at it as anything other than infringement. So again, this is not about a political debate. I'm not here to express my opinions or the opinions of our company. This is about education, just like everything else we do here. So please understand the facts, understand what these firearms are and what they aren't, and please make informed decisions and have an appropriate conversation. I'm Frank Melloni. Thanks for joining us.